Good morning. I'm going to drop a few links in the chat for everyone. This is just our code of conduct, a link to our link tree for all of our socials, the link to our survey for today. Thank you. I made them myself. All right, welcome to the first day of our 14th annual NOLA ILC Information Literacy Forum and our fifth online conference. We are so glad that everyone could make it, and we're really excited about our lineup of presentations that we have this year. My name is Iriana Lonon. I'm the outreach librarian at Loyola University of New Orleans, and this year I've had the honor of serving as the executive board's chair. Our chat monitor for today is Janine Smith, our university archivist at Loyola University of New Orleans, and another member of our executive board. Before we get to today's presenters, there are a couple of housekeeping matters we need to take care of. Today we'll have two presentations and two lightning talks. Our presentations will last for 30 minutes with 15 minutes for Q&A, and our lightning talks will last 5 to 10 minutes with any time remaining left for Q&A. You can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and our chat moderator will keep track of them for the Q&A session afterwards. You can also use the chat box to let us know about any tech problems that you think may be originating on our end. Finally, in the chat box, we've dropped a link to our link tree, which includes the links for our social media channels and our land acknowledgement and action statements. One final note, we will be recording this presentation and sharing it on our YouTube channel. For more details about that, wait for the end of the session. If you would rather not be recorded at all, make sure you keep your cameras off. Today, we are honored to welcome Nicole Burchfield and her lightning talk, Universal Design for Learning, Simple Tips for More Inclusive Instruction. And Nicole, you can go ahead and start.
Okay, let me share. I'm on slides. There we go. Okay, good morning, everyone. Let me, there we go. I can see you. I can see you all now. Yay. So my name is Nicole Burchfield, and I am a Learning and Curricular Services librarian at Texas A&M University. I mostly support our College of Visualization, Performance, and Fine Arts with instruction and curriculum planning. And I am a huge proponent of UDL. I don't know how many of you are already familiar with it, but I'm going to share some simple tips that you can use today that don't take really any preparation. And you may already be doing them. And if you are, then pat yourself on the back because that's really great. All right, so let's get going. Maybe. Okay, so this is a QR code and a link that you can use to access the slides on your device. I'll leave this here for a few seconds. And in the meantime, start thinking for me about how you're feeling today. Just kind of try to put your finger on it because I'm going to ask you to type in a number in the chat for how you're feeling today on the Nicolas Cage gauge. So pick your Nick, everyone. I'd love to see where everyone is at today. I am at a 4. Okay, we have a 6, stressed, and a 5, focused, a 1, happy, happy, yay. And bees, that's my favorite one. I love bees. And 9, thank you all for participating. I appreciate it. I see a lot of 3s relaxed. Oh, that's great. For a Monday, especially. All right. I only have 5 to 10 minutes, so on we go. So UDL is an approach to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all. not just the few, by setting clear and rigorous goals, anticipating barriers, and then proactively designing to minimize those barriers. UDL was developed originally to improve teaching for those with disabilities, but it was redesigned recently, a couple of years ago, to improve teaching for all so that you don't have to cater to anyone with disabilities, but you can improve teaching for everyone, each and every student. And we are going to talk a little overview about UDL. It starts with the guidelines of engagement, which is the why of learning. And the principles within that are welcoming interests and identities, sustaining effort and persistence, and emotional capacity, which we just did emotional capacity with quick emotional check-in with you all. And then representation, or the what of learning. So what are they learning? How are they being taught? What kind of modalities are you using? And that would be perception, language and symbols, and building knowledge. And then action and expression is the how are they going to show you what they have learned? Um, and that's interaction, expression and communication, and strategy development. And I highly recommend, if you don't know these, to go to the UDL guidelines on CAS.org to check them out. There are more details and there are more considerations listed under them, but since I'm doing a quick lightning talk, I didn't want to go into too much detail because I wanted to get to the tips. So for engagement, under access of welcoming interests and identities, really quick, just share your pronouns when you're introducing yourself. It helps create an environment of belonging and acceptance, and it's easy to do. Let students choose the topics. I mostly teach one-shot instruction, and I do a lot of database demos at the beginning of class, and it's always good to do let them choose what you're searching for. Don't have a predetermined search ready to go, but let them have choice. Anytime you can let them have a choice, do. And then share a personal story related to the content. It helps humanize you, it helps humanize the content. And if you don't have a personal story, just at least share your excitement for the topic. Sustaining effort and persistence, motivation. Help them find their why. Help relate what you're teaching them on that day to their real life and how it's going to affect them in their real life. Recognize all contributions positively. So anytime anyone contributes to the conversation, recognize them with positivity. And I am guilty of forgetting to do this sometimes, but it's always appropriate to announce the time limits for activities up front. To try to stop myself from forgetting to do this, I usually put the time limit on the slide to introduce the activity so that they know how much time they have. It helps them plan, and a lot of times it makes them feel more comfortable with what they're going to be doing. Emotional capacity. So we did one of those today, an emotional check-in. Another one I like to do is to ask them what carousel ride they're on that day or that week, and it's a lot of fun. Let's see. Normalize uncertainty. So let them learn with you. Normalize that you don't have all the answers, but that you're going to help find them. And ask students to set a personal goal. So at the beginning of class, you can have the students actually set a personal goal for what they would like to get out of the class. And perception. Always show captions with your videos. It's an easy thing to do, and it's appropriate not just for people with disabilities, but sometimes the classroom you're in might be hard for them to hear. So it's always good to do videos with captions. And in case you don't know, I'm not running them right now, but PowerPoint actually has a live captioning feature. So if you're showing slides and you have a microphone on your laptop or computer, you can actually have it show your captions as you're talking. It's pretty cool. Provide digital access to materials in advance. So for my classes, I always send them a copy of my slides in advance so they can upload them into the LMS so that they can then see the slides beforehand. Some students, they need that as part of their accommodations. And then always share QR codes and links in class for materials as well. I have found multiple times that students, no matter who they are, really enjoy pulling up those slides because I have links in the slides. So when we're going to the website or something like that, they can just click on the link and they can follow along. They can see what's coming next before I get there. It works really well. Language and symbols. Avoid unexplained jargon. That's pretty self-explanatory. Use analogies and metaphors. So one thing I like to do when I'm talking about databases is say, hey, you use Amazon, so you're using a database. Um, and provide a glossary slide or handout. So sometimes you can't avoid using some kind of jargon because there's discipline specific words that you need to use in topics and terms. So provide a glossary slide or give them a handout with those terms on it and give with a definition of what they are. And then building knowledge. Assess what they know. At the beginning of class, ask them an open-ended question, have a discussion, do a poll, do a true or false, and just kind of find out where they are with before you start teaching. And pause for reflection. 1 minute summaries. A quick, easy thing to do once you've done an activity is have them write down, even if it's just for themselves, a quick 1 minute, what did I learn from this question and answer. And then end with a summary slide of core concepts. It's a great thing to do at the end of any session if you're not already doing that. Interaction. Use EdTech tools for assessments. I know a lot of us do this, but it does help with accessibility. Things like Mentimeter and Padlet. Use props and manipulatives when relevant. So I like to, when I do keyword search development teaching, I will give them a couple of items and let them create a topic based on those little items that I've given them. And they are the most random items I can find in my office. Like I have this collection of stuffed cats. I will give them a stuffed cat and then like a squishmallow that's an orange drink and let them come up with whatever topic they want to based on that. It helps give them ideas and give them a place to start. And it's fun. Invite students to stand and stretch at preset times. So it's always good, especially during a longer session, to give them a chance to stop and take a break and refocus their energy on what they're learning. And then action and expression. Facilitate group activities and discussions. I know a lot of us probably already do this, but it's a great way for them to learn. They learn really well from each other and from teaching each other. And it gets them up and moving around. Integrate role play or debate. This is a way you can get them to kind of step outside their comfort zone because they're playing the role of someone else in teaching someone or in learning something. And then debate is just always fun. And then let the class upvote questions of what you discuss next. So this goes back to letting them have choice. Um, so maybe put the questions in Padlet and have everyone heart things that they like the best and then talk about those things first. Strategy development. Provide time reminders for transition. So we talked earlier about giving them a time limit in advance. Also give them reminders as that time limit is coming to a close so that they have some planning that they can do to make sure they do all of the activity. Offer step-by-step instructions for all activities. And this is you can put it on a slide and have all the steps listed on the slide, or you can include it on a handout or both. And then end with references for independent learning. A lot of times students will want to continue learning what they have learned in the class, and especially if it's a one-shot class, it's a great opportunity for them to continue learning, and it's very engaging for them. Okay, I got through all of them, I think, in a record amount of time. So I wanted to leave some time at the end for y'all to post your ideas for using the UDL guidelines. I know a lot of you are already familiar with them, so I'd love to hear what you are doing in your classes. And thank you. And those are the links to the slides again. And I'm going to read through the cat.
All right, thank you so much, Nicole. We do have one question that was posted earlier in the chat from Loretta Robertson. What if their contribution is negative? How do you respond to them?
I think I would try to spin it and say something along the lines of, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry you feel that way, and I'd like to see how I can do what I can do to change your opinion. I mean, it depends on what the negative thing is, but I would just try to spin it.
Thank you. From
Sure.
Francis Brady, there's a comment. I'm curious about your thoughts on pronouns. I used to always share my pronouns at a previous organization where my students overall responded well to that. However, I'm at a new organization and I find that students are far more traditional than I am. I've worried that I'll actually make students feel less comfortable by sharing my pronouns. I generally use they, but my students often refer to me as ma'am throughout sessions because that's the cultural norm.
So I totally get that. I work in Texas, so it's kind of the same here at A&M. I work with the arts students, so they're a little more open to that. I think in this case, you have to do what you feel they're going to be most comfortable with. And so that might mean not sharing your pronouns. I wish I could say to share your pronouns, but I think you're going to want to make them feel comfortable and to help them feel like they belong in that classroom. So if it is inappropriate for where you are at that moment, then I would say don't do it. But I'm sad because I wish that you could.
All right, does anyone else have any questions they'd like to post in chat? Otherwise, we will move on. Thank you, Nicole, so much for your session.
Thank you.
These slides will be available on our website soon after the forum. So just check back later. And Melita, you are ready to go.
Okay, good morning. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right. So good morning and happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on teaching an online library research course, leveraging infolit modules, LibGuides, and OER content. So a little about me. My name is Melita Payne. I'm a librarian at Southern University. I've been here for 19 years. I serve as the systems administrator, reference librarian, one of the reference librarian. I'm the library liaison for the School of Nursing and the College of Business. I am also the administrator for the institutional repository and for LibGuides. I'm one of many of the OER librarians here, and I oversee the laptop lending program in addition to teaching a one-credit library research online course. So the key topics for today's presentation includes a little about Southern University. I'll give you an overview of my Library Science 101 course and how Instruct Infolit modules are used in the course, the benefits of incorporating OER course materials, and the usefulness of LibGuides in student learning. I also give you some context with student feedback, some of the challenges I've encountered, and a couple of takeaways. So Southern University and A&M Colleges is located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it is the state's largest HBCU with 6,571 students. And it's known for academic excellence. It's earned the Carnegie Research 2 designation in 2022, recognizing high research activity. So about the course, Library Research 101 is designed to teach students the research process, methods for locating and evaluating sources, and creating effective search strategies are discussed in practice by exploring online research tools and techniques. And our goal is for the students to become proficient 21st century learners. So the course was first introduced in the spring of 2024. And the course that I teach is asynchronous. It's 100% online. There's no textbook cost. And we use library research methods, OER. We use the textbook, OER, librarian created assignments also. And through the Instruct Infolit modules, that accounts for 40% of the student grade. Class discussions are 10%, and the course assignments are 50%. We use Canvas as our LMS, and this information is from the spring semester, in which there were 15 weeks. And we do have like weekly course modules. I open them on Monday mornings at 8 a.m. And all assignments and quizzes are due on Sundays at 11:59 p.m. And I make sure that I grade those assignments on Monday, giving the students feedback. And this is a screenshot of my course syllabus. It has all the information there, my contact information, the learning outcomes are there, linked to the textbook, give a description of the major assignments, the weekly topics that they'll be exploring, the technology requirements, the graded values are there, the assignment's name, and how it aligns with the student learning outcomes with the grade value. So, as I said, what I usually do on when I introduce a weekly module, just give the students the topic and the activities that they will explore. I also will videotape to give them context on how to access it and, just let them know what the information is about. And then I follow up on week Wednesday with a reminder that, hey, this is what you need to complete if you hadn't logged in. So just to let them know that I'm here and what they need to complete in a timely manner. One of the icebreakers I do in the beginning of the semester is allow the students to introduce themselves. I ask them, what's your major and why did you choose it? Where are you from and what's something interesting about your hometown? What do you hope to gain from the course? Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of school? What's a fun fact about yourself that not many people know? Your favorite book, someone you admire, and one thing you're looking forward to. And I'm always amazed at how the students open up. And I learned such things. Some things are so moving. So it's a really great way for them to start engaging in the course and to connect with their peers in the course. So resources used in the course is Credo, Instruct, LibGuides, which you all may be familiar with, and Librarian Created OER. So a little about Instruct InfoLit modules. It is multimedia content. It has over 100 customizable learning objects. It's flexible because it contains tutorials. Videos are less than 7 minutes long, and quizzes where the students can demonstrate their learning. It can be customized. It does meet those information literacy standards. And it gives the librarian more control over the analytics so we can run our own reports and we can ensure that we are meeting our objective of getting our students ready to be information literate. And the administrative dashboard is where I can customize reports. I can also give faculty engagement modules to our faculty, instruct InfoLit modules or FERPA and ADA compliant. And it's integrated in LibGuides and in, of course, learning course management. So this is how I display LibGuides from our library's website. And this just lets the faculty know what they can choose. They don't have to choose everything, but they can choose things that would be beneficial. We do have librarians and we all do one-shot sessions also in our liaison work. So this expands our outreach in being embedded and infusing different methods and modalities of information literacy. We collaborate with our faculty to embed these Instruct InfoLit modules at the point of need and to share in the student learning. So Instruct does have LTI, which is a learning tools interoperability, where the links are tailored to the LMS to enable deeper integration. So it's just a seamless integration where the students can access the videos, tutorials, and quizzes directly within the course without needing to navigate to a separate website. And this is the dashboard of Instruct where I can track enrollment, run my reports through the assessment, and see how the students have engaged in these. So the filters are very important because I can run it by the dates. I can view the assessments, whether it's the questions from the quiz, the score distribution, the criterion, the unit, the answers. I can compare by assessment, how many times the student attempted to utilize it, their classification, course departments, the instructor, learner, the major, the run, the semester unit. And it allows me to select from the quiz type, or I can narrow assessments to a particular course. So this is very helpful when we do accreditation reports. We can show the impact in that particular subject area that instructors had, in addition to what we do in our one shot. So this is just another layer of presenting information. The The quizzes that are used in the Library Science 101 course is the pre-test. I do the information ethics quiz, the primary and secondary source quiz, choosing a database, search techniques, evaluating information, peer review, anatomy of research, and APA, MLA, and Chicago quizzes. So once I get that, the students will need to complete this quiz information form. This allows me to see with that individual student, I can run all their quizzes simultaneously, or I can just see a group of information. But this gives us the information we need, such as the student's name, email, the instructor, their major, the department, the semester in which they've engaged in the quizzes, their classification, and from that particular course. So from the spring of 2025, I ran a pre-test and it started at 59.91. So for APA, it was 96. And this is the course averages. The anatomy of a research paper was 100. Chicago was 95. So you can see a display of all of the scores that were captured, the averages of how the students did with that. And that's just one layer of just capturing that information. And I also use LibGuides. Many of us have used LibGuides, but I've incorporated what I've already created to introduce these concepts of information literacy to students. So this is a LibGuide on information and digital literacy, format types in the information cycle. And I've also done one about the library's website and services. Understanding library databases is there, and APA in Chicago. So we have a myriad of different LibGuides that are used throughout the course. Now, the OER course created assignments that will kind of balance it out. I like to give students more than one way to engage with information. So I've created the information and digital literacy assignment, the library website exploration assignment, the information ethics reflection assignment, getting background information, choosing a library database for research, search techniques, the EBSCO database assignment, because we have like 95% of our databases are indeed EBSCO, locating and analyzing a scholarly article. They do an annotated bibliography, as well as identifying primary sources for digital collections that we have. And the goal is to have those students to interact with those library resources and have them to record their experiences. And this really helps to build their confidence in using those resources at Southern University's library. So the benefit of creating and using OER content, that our students are actively engaged with our library's resources and they can see themselves reflected. And it's just like Nicole said, they choose their topics and they're interacting with the resources that we have. They're developing skills to navigate and use those resources effectively. And as a result, they're gaining confidence in conducting database searches and utilizing libraries tools. We also have the ability to create or adapt OER to align with those diverse student learning styles. And librarians can create content to reflect identified gaps. So if they don't do well on a quiz, this is another way for them to see it and to engage with that information. So this approach, it creates meaningful opportunities for librarians. We've done a lot of OER work where we've trained faculty, but now we are also creators and developers of OER. So this is an example of the assignment. This is the library website exploration assignment. And they're engaging, answering questions, linking to those resources. They have everything that they need to start and to give us their perspective of what they've encountered. So I've asked the student, what did you find most valuable or interesting about the website? How do you anticipate using the library resources and services? So this student said, the thing I found most interesting was finding e-journals by title. I plan to incorporate using library services in my academic work, such as using a LibGuide for my 305 class. And when I have to do my nursing research, I will incorporate using databases. I did not find any areas of website or services that were challenging or hard to understand. This also gives us feedback on how we're putting out information, the library as a whole, to our students also. Um, this is the annotated bibliography assignment. They do interact with our archive in our institutional repository. We want them to see a myriad of resources that we have access to, the APA research activity, and choosing a library database for research. So at the end of the semester, rather than giving the students a final, I let them just do a final reflection because I want to free them up to concentrate on their other courses, because they've already gone through all of the resources and we're able to capture how well they've engaged with it and how much they've learned. So I've asked, what new skills or knowledge did you acquire from the course? And the students said, new knowledge that I acquired is the different types of databases out there that relates to my field of study. The course has taught me how to efficiently read a journal and how to cite it correctly. And yes, the course has enhanced my understanding of literacy concepts and evaluating if an article is reliable or not. The library research design has taught me how to find journals the correct way. And that's always something great to hear, and how to cite them correctly. Also, how to filter my search while locating articles correctly. Another student said the new skills I gained from the course is strategies in narrowing down topics and assessing credibility. My ability to conduct research has improved, and I feel more confident of identifying courses. And this course has deepened my understanding of information literacy. I now see the importance of citing and evaluating correctly. And overall, Library Science 101 has changed my view of research and helped expand my mind with the process. So it's always good to know, what did they get from it? And coming in, what did they think of it? So some of the challenges have been that we had moved from Moodle to Canvas. So it was just like we had to get a fast track in training to be ready for the fall of 2024. Another thing, because it's so different from the one-shot sessions, when students just, after midterm and homecoming, they just stop completing assignments on time. So you've got to send out messages and just to make sure that they get back on track. This class, I've encountered crowded classes in which I had, in the spring of 2024, 65 students enrolled in this course. And it was a lot of work to keep up with the assignments and all of the challenges that could come with a course. And we have different systems to track. So in addition to my regular workload, I've had to track information on student progresses and things of that nature. So those have been challenges that, and I'm proud to say that I've been able to overcome. So my takeaways are, every semester is different. I've learned that students love feedback, and I love to do things the same time for them to set a system of, you do your part and I'm doing mine. I realize that students will not read information unless it's tied into assignments. So with my OER content, I'm able to make those changes from what I'm getting from the feedback. Clear communication is always good. It fosters a positive learning environment. And as I said, the instructor consistency and responsiveness impacts student success. I've had a lot of students say, wow, I didn't think, I don't usually get feedback or hear from my professor this quick, but I try to set that standard for them as an example. Continuous learning through quality matters. It does strengthens your teaching effectiveness. And no course will remain the same. You're definitely going to be utilizing more technology, more databases, more whatever we're having new that's in the library profession. We're infusing this in our course. And just to I don't ever want to forget this, that librarians are positioned to be creators of OER content. And I like to take this information and then, have it available in our repository, as a record that we are doing our part in not only training faculty to use OER, but to create it. We show ourselves as examples. So are there any questions?
Yes, we have one immediately. Um, in teaching asynchronously, have you found students are relying on Gen AI to answer the questions for the course? We found our undergrads are using ChatGPT for their asynchronous course assignments, and I'll be redesigning the course this fall, wondering if you found anything that helps mitigate this.
Yeah, when they have to do, especially if you capture it in your reflection, I could tell when some students have, I do have them to do why is information literacy important to college students? And you could tell the chat GPT responses. Um, but I know through other reflections, since this is geared towards our collections and they have to look at the content, they have to go through it in order to answer the questions. But I kind of see it tapered off once we get to the reflection activities.
All right, our next question is the course a requirement for your institution?
Yeah, it's a 1 hour course. So yeah, we did get it. It's, we have students who want to self-enroll in it, but we're making way just to make it's a required course. We wanted it targeted towards our freshman students, for them to get the foundations of this. But yeah, we have a lot of upperclassmen that want to be in this course, especially the online course.
Any other questions? Feel free to go ahead and post them in the chat. Melita, of course, you can share your slides with me and I'll post them directly to the website. I'll give you guys a couple more minutes just in case we have any extras because we do have some spare time. I
And I
do have
want
a
to say that I've
question.
taken this
Yeah, go ahead.
information also, and I've done, especially with my nursing students, because I do a lot of engagement with them and learning different types of styles. So I was able to do a poster session on information literacy through using Instruct and LibGuides and its impact. And, I was able to give the students surveys just to see, how information and created information. I'm very interested in how information literacy and different modalities help to increase student learning outcomes.
Once again, that was amazing. You can go ahead and stop sharing now. Our next lightning talk will be given by Victoria Elmwood, teaching research skills asynchronously beyond the instructional video.
Hey everybody, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. And looks like the screen sharing should be on. Um, Coming on the heels of Melita's talk, this lightning talk is going to be very lightweight. It sounds like Southeastern has a much more robust program for giving information literacy and research skills instruction than Tulane has. For us, it's been a little bit difficult because it functions more as an afterthought, even though our faculty acknowledge that it's extremely important and there's a lot of concern about it. I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes about some course modules that I've been working on. I think these could also qualify as OERs, but I haven't had a chance to really extend my vision beyond just trying to find ways to get easily integratable instruction into our curriculum at whatever places we can find. So I should probably introduce myself first. I'm Victoria Elmwood. I am the Scholarly Engagement Librarian for the Arts and Humanities here at Tulane. And instruction is a small part of a larger set of things that I do. Obviously, we all wear different hats. I'll do outreach, instruction, and a lot of collection building. So, one of my goals as the liaison to the English department has been to ensure that we are hitting that freshman comp class as hard as we can and getting library instruction integrated into it as much as possible. Getting started, one of the things that I wanted to do to frame this is think about instructional videos. I think since COVID, everyone has gotten used to making them. They're part of our instructional ecosystem in a way. However you feel about them, they're a really useful tool. They're here to stay. They have bonuses and then they have drawbacks. So the things that I like about asynchronous videos, they can be accessed at point of need. Student needs them at 2 in the morning because they're in the process of doing some research for a paper that is due hopefully not the next day, but often the next day. It's really great for them to be able to get that instruction so that they can put it into practice at the second that they're getting the instruction. They're easy to embed and share. You can add captioning and students can adjust the speed of playback if they need something to go a little bit slower, a little bit faster. And then they're rewatchable, so it's easy to revisit them. This is the reason that we love them. This is the reason they're great. Some drawbacks, we know that length is limited. Once you start hitting the 5-minute point, your users are going to start to drop off in terms of attention span because they're looking for something that's going to help them do what they need when they need it. Sometimes they lack a larger context. So particularly if you're trying to give instruction or instructional materials to students who are in a larger sort of trajectory of the research process, just zeroing in on one particular moment in that process tends to have them think of it less as a process and more as a set of discrete and sometimes unconnected steps. And so I feel like it segments the research process in some ways. And then obviously not all video platforms will offer ways to embed interactive quizzes. And I think I love the idea of interactive quizzes because it makes sure that your users are engaged and responding rather than just passively absorbing or not so much absorbing content that is just sort of being beamed at them. And then a lot of times, if you do have a screencasting application that you're using, the quiz results, and it does allow for quiz results, those results are not always easily recordable or reportable to the instructor of record. Again, here at Tulane, we don't have any kind of credit-bearing courses, so none of us are instructors of record when it comes to teaching information literacy skills. So we do have to do a lot of outreach work with our faculty to make sure that they have it integrated into their curriculum somehow. And again, at the base level, we're working with our freshman comp classes, and then individually we try and get a few more insertion points within the majors at different levels of need. So there's sort of the entry level, and then there's the more advanced sort of thesis level type research that we're looking at. What I've been working at is just the freshman comp level. So this is a little bit less heavy duty. And then finally, updating videos can be really labor intensive. If you're someone whose job title and job responsibilities has them doing a lot of video editing, it might be sort of easy peasy. You know the technology so well that you can just stick in a different slide in your video. But if you don't do them a lot, it can be labor intensive to have to go in and learn all again how to update a video with, say, a new website layout. So I think we've probably all been through at least one website redesign where the website in your video doesn't look like the website that people are now using, and you have to sort of update it to make sure that it makes sense to your users. And that is never a fun or easy or fast thing to do. So again, this is just as like maybe a tenth of the weight of the detail that Melita has shown us in her previous presentation. LMS modules are great. We use Canvas 2 here at Tulane, and I've had some pretty good experiences with the functionality of it. They allow for a mix of media, as you can have text, images, video, and even just sound all together in a bundle. They feature embedded quizzes with easy gradebook capability. So what we're hoping to do is have instructors download modules that they can then integrate into their own course shells so that they can make sort of low stakes quiz assignments part of their final grade for their for students' freshman comp courses. You can link and embed those wonderful asynchronous videos that we love so much, or you can provide additional material to help frame or supplement those videos so it actually serves as a shell that creates context for instructional videos so they don't seem as disjointed and sort of isolated. And then it's easier to edit, revise, or update than standalone videos. So it's much easier to switch out a screenshot than it is to have to update the appearance of a website in a video. The work that we've done so far at Tulane in the past year, we've talked a lot about creating these sort of templates for modules that can be integrated into faculty's faculty's course shells. I can't take credit for this. A member of my team created a template for modules that includes a welcome page, a blank page that you can fill with content, then an end of module page and module feedback. And you can kind of see that here on the screen where it starts with a welcome. It's got content, it's got quizzes, and then we've got the other part of the sandwich, the end of the module and the module feedback. You can put a little bit of university branding in there. Usually nothing major, but you can use like university colors so it blends in and looks continuous with the rest of the LMS content that they're experiencing. I love being able to build quizzes here. This is another way to make these modules have some kind of weight, although a low stakes weight, to make sure that students are sort of paying attention to them. I think sometimes we have a lot of face-to-face instruction sessions where students kind of see it as a bonus day where they may or may not come to class. And so you might have a percentage of the class that's missing library instruction. So this is one way to kind of give them a low stakes incentive to actually do the work. Um, a word of caution, well, not a word of caution, but one thing I like about the quizzes through Canvas that we can build is that they have multiple settings. So you can shuffle the question order, you can shuffle the multiple choice answer order, although that doesn't work so great if you have multiple choice questions for which the correct answer is A and B, because the LMS is going to shuffle the order of the answers, and that's going to create some problems there. So just a word of warning with that. It allows retakes and it can show feedback. So if you have a student who answers a question incorrectly, you can program in some feedback that gives them a little hint that pushes them towards a correct answer, which I think is a really great kind of back and forth interaction to be able to program into a module, into a quiz. And it makes quizzes less of a punitive thing and more of a part of the learning process, which I think it's just a much better way for students to learn. And then finally, quizzes. I haven't done this yet, but quizzes can be reused in multiple contexts or modules. So I think the modularity of all this stuff, being able to take one thing and use it in a different context is really helpful. Currently, I've planned out 4 modules for our freshman comp pilot, which I'm hoping to start this fall. High hopes. 3 of these I've completed so far. One is about using keywords for library research. This covers, in addition to the keywords, it also talks about background research and how to narrow a topic, which I think can be really difficult things to teach in the moment, especially when you're trying to cover a whole lot of other stuff. There's a module on composing effective search queries. So this is where we talk about keywords, Booleans, phrasal searching, and other sort of search functions such as wildcards. And then the last one that I've completed is assessing and filtering search results. So this shows students how to, once they submit a search query, how to skim the results, see if they're getting the right kind of results, and then look through the bibliographic details and use their search filters as effectively as possible to make it easier to find those needles in the haystack that they're dealing with. The final module that I'm currently working on is actually under construction. It's still in the pen and paper. I'm scratching out notes. It's on organizing sources and taking notes. I'm finding this is a really hard one because it's such an idiosyncratic thing. I think everyone's got their own individual search process, research process that they do their own way of organizing their sources. So I'm hoping to give some suggestions about what are some really good guidelines for how to organize sources efficiently and what are the things you want to keep in mind as you take notes, that tell you what some of the better methods might be for taking notes, depending on how you function as a researcher. So that's about it. Again, it's not nearly as robust as what Melita just presented on. I think it's wonderful what they're doing over there. I'm really impressed with it. So we've got a little bit less of a weaker mandate for integrating information literacy instruction into our curriculum. And this is one way that I'm hoping, it's a somewhat passive way, but it's one way I'm hoping that we can make sure that we get those kind of basic level skills into our students' curriculum as soon as possible. And that is my presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you.
We do have a question for you in chat. Are you using Zotero for your final module?
I think I probably will. That's the bibliographic citation organizer that we use. It's free, it's easy to use. And we're not wondering if we're going to continue a subscription into next year. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to recommend.
Awesome. Just a reminder for those of you who are sharing your lovely positive comments in the chat, don't forget to input them on the survey form. There are sections where you can comment on each individual presenter for the day. Thank you, Victoria, so much. I'll give you guys a minute or two to get in your final questions. And of course, we'll have a little bit more time at the end of the day, just in case you thought of anything. Before we wrap up at the end, our final presentation of the day will be presented by Amy Ardon and Heather Barnes, Beyond Books, Crafting a Comprehensive Customer Service Program for Your Library.
Hi,
Don't know why my voice
everyone.
is good like that.
Are you
Hi.
ready for us to share our screen and get started?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me pull that up. Let's see. I swear I knew how to do it in practice and now I'm not seeing. Oh, here it is. Okay. There we go. All right. And just making sure you guys can see my presentation here.
Looks great to me.
Perfect. All right, we'll get started. My name is Amy, and I also have Heather, and we're going to present, and we'll introduce ourselves on the next slide. But we're super excited to talk to you guys today about our presentation, which is crafting a comprehensive customer service program for your library. And we are public librarians, so it's a little bit, we're geared more towards that, but you could take these principles and apply them in academic libraries, special libraries, really anywhere, I think. So a little bit about us. These are our pets because we figured you could see us. I am a branch manager at the Dutchtown branch of the Ascension Parish Library. I've been working in libraries this summer makes 7 years. So that's super fun. I do a lot of children's programming, but I've also been working a lot with Heather and with our administration to make some training programs for our staff. And now I'll let Heather talk to you about her and her pets. And my dog's name is Jack, if y'all were wondering, and that's his donut toy. He loves it.
Hey everyone, that's my cat Mochi when she was a baby. I have been working in libraries for over 10 years now, and I think I have 16 or 17 years of customer service experience at this point. So that's me.
All right, and we will go ahead and get started with our the bulk of our presentation. So you guys probably know this, but how important is customer service in libraries? Patrons are our best advocates and advertisers for our libraries. So creating these positive library experiences are just so important. It's almost impossible to understate their importance. And I want to make sure, okay, good. I didn't see myself on there. I'm like, can you guys hear me? I was, that's like the worst that if you couldn't hear me. But anyway, So also, customer service is the difference between a generic library transaction and a positive library experience. Because I know we all think about, like, if you went to a store and they're just not helping you, and then you say, oh, I'm never going back there, and I'm going to tell 10 of my friends not to go back there also because I had this horrible experience. So we want to make sure that patrons have a positive library experience every single time they come in, because if they don't, it'll likely be their only time coming in. So going forward, let's see. Oh, I'm on my Zoom screen, and I'm sorry, guys. I promise I practiced. So why create a separate training program for your customer service? We got this question a little bit from our admin. Like, why would we need to have a separate training when we already do onboarding training? So first of all, it reinforces your library's commitment to excellent customer service. We want to make sure that the staff know that it's one of the most important things that we want them to do at the library every day. And it also empowers our staff. It's equipping them with the knowledge and the tools they need to create those positive library experiences for our patrons, because it's giving them clear guidelines and expectations regarding their interactions with patrons. And it's also giving them guidance for any tense or hostile situations that might occur. So when we went about developing our customer service program, the first thing was to identify the ideal customer service behaviors that we wanted our staff to exhibit in their interactions. Some helpful things to look at when you're doing this. What is your library's mission, vision, and values? For example, here at APL, 3 of our values are service, respect, and compassion. And we knew this going into the project that our customer service program needed to reflect that. Another thing to look at, in what ways do your existing training and onboarding programs cover it? And in what ways are they lacking? You know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but if you don't have a lot of customer service training, or if you're missing a specific aspect of it, how can you address that in your new training? So another thing we thought about, we identified considerations that we felt were the most important to remember when creating our program to ensure that we remained intentional throughout the process of creating it. These were ours, and I'll go over them. Our first one was that happy staff leads to better customer service. Staff morale has to be considered as a crucial element of customer service. And we believe that leadership should continuously cultivate a positive work culture through recognition when recognition is due. Another one of our considerations was that diverse patrons have diverse needs. The library sees a diverse range of patrons, including patrons who are unhoused, patrons who primarily speak a foreign language, and patrons who are experiencing mental health issues. And there is no standard approach that would work well for all of these situations. So we wanted to provide guidelines and tools for our staff to provide unique but consistently great customer service for all of our patrons. And the last consideration we thought about was that staff development is a continuous process. And our board kept using the phrase, we want to be industry leaders in customer service. So for us to be able to be industry leaders in customer service, we have to embrace a model of continuous staff training opportunities. These can be formal or informal at the branch level, and it should be for all levels of staff for support up through administration. So developing our program, we went ahead and we used kind of 4 different facets of our customer service program. And I'll talk about each of them more on the next slides. But the first thing we developed were training manuals for staff and for supervisors. We've compiled continuing education training lists that are centered around customer service. We have developed a staff recognition program through a Customer Service Excellence Award. And we also have created posters and visual aids to hang up in high traffic staff areas. So the first thing I'm going to talk about are the training manuals, because those are kind of our big project for this. The first one we made was the staff guide. And in the staff guide, we included several things, customer service basics, what is customer service, why is it so important? Guidelines for providing consistently exceptional customer service in the everyday situations, and also in the more difficult situations that often pop up, especially because those are more hard to prepare for. We also have discussions on communication and how it influences customer service, setting and enforcing boundaries as staff, and empathy versus sympathy when having these interactions with patrons. We have guidelines for providing customer service remotely through phone calls and email, an introduction to emotional intelligence and how it affects our customer service, and definitions of our customer service quality standards that we defined for our library, which I'll show a little bit later on. We also created a supervisor's guide, and I have a note down here, but it wasn't meant to stand alone. It's meant to supplement the staff guide, just to give supervisors a little bit more information on how they can support their staff, ensuring that they can provide excellent customer service, because while all of our supervisors are on the floor, usually daily to cover desk and things like that, there's a lot of other things that we can do, to help our staff who are really on the front lines. We have guidance on how to foster, a culture of excellent customer service, things like hiring with customer service in mind, continuous staff training and development, and team collaboration and support. And some of these things are like, make sure people have time off the desk to do their off-desk tasks, so that way they can be focused on the patrons when they come in the door. We have discussions on conflict resolution and de-escalation. And also we have some extra appendices in the back of the book with role-playing scenarios that they can work through with their staff at training, and customer service-oriented interview questions. The role-playing scenarios were very fun to write because I asked all the other branch managers what they thought their staff would find most helpful. So we have really fun situations like angry patron who has booked meeting room, angry patron who comes in on tax day and needs tax forms and we don't have them, things like that, that if you work in a public library, you've probably encountered. The next thing that we did, we have compiled continuing education training list. All of our staff are required to complete a certain number of hours of continuing education every year. So we just went through the databases we have access to at our library, like WebJunction, Udemy, and LinkedIn Learning. And we just developed a spreadsheet of free continuing education courses that staff can take to fulfill those requirements. They can also, this can be modified if you have internal training that you have access to, maybe on your HR software. And we meant it as a tool that either staff could use by themselves if they wanted to find a customer service training, or also as a guide for supervisors who feel like they might need to assign some customer service training to someone. And we are going to update the spreadsheet as more trainings become available. We plan to check on it a few times a year and make sure that it's up to date. And then this one I'm really excited about. Formal staff recognition through Customer Service Excellence Awards. Each December, we have an all-staff meeting that is all day at our main branch, and we're going to use that meeting to recognize one or more staff members for their excellence in customer service. Staff can be nominated by their peers or their supervisors, and a committee that will consist of one manager from every branch and our assistant library director will review all the nominations and select a winner or winners. We decided that we shouldn't have a set number of people because we wanted to make sure that the people who are getting these awards are really deserving. So we didn't want to, give out an award if we didn't feel like we had enough people to meet that hard number of how many awards we were going to give out. But we also didn't want to limit ourselves if we ended up having a great year where a ton of people deserved it. So the number of staff who receive awards will vary on the year based on the quality of the applications and the judgment of our team. And the staff who win the award will be given a pin to wear on their lanyard that has like a customer service acknowledgement on there that they've excelled in it, a certificate signed by our administrators, and a copy of the nomination letter or letters and any other supporting evidence that includes positive feedback. And we'll show the form later on, but on the form we do have an option that says, can we share what you've said with the person if they win? And they can choose yes, but anonymously, or they can choose to have their letters remain private. Finally, we are developing posters and visual aids to hang up in high traffic staff areas. This will provide daily exposure to our core values and customer service principles, and it's a convenient reference for our staff who might be currently resolving a customer service related situation. They can pop in the back workroom behind the circ desk, look at the poster. They can kind of see, we have acronyms, and we'll show you guys that in just a minute. But they can say, oh, this is what I need to do. They are pulled straight from our customer service training guide. So it wasn't anything new we had to create. We just made it bigger and a little bit prettier, and we put it on a poster. Now that we've talked a little bit about developing it, I want to talk briefly about implementing it, because development is only the first step in creating a customer service program. We are currently in the process of implementing our customer service program. So here are the steps we've taken and are planning to take so far. The first thing, we're currently working on this. We have the guides finalized, but we're going to have an acknowledgement in our HR software. We use Paylocity, that the staff have read and understand the customer service guide for staff. And for any future employees who are onboarded, it will be included in their onboarding information. We also are doing in-person training for staff and supervisors. We gave a presentation summarizing the guide for staff at last year's all-staff meeting in December. And I also gave a presentation summarizing the customer service guide for supervisors at one of our monthly supervisors meetings. Both of the presentations were interactive and encouraged audience participation, and our staff had really positive feedback about the training. For example, for my customer service guide for staff, I presented and I said, can anybody tell me about good customer service? Can anybody tell me about bad customer service? Can you guess the top 8 customer service leaders in business? Things like Chewy, Zappos, the shoe store. So we kind of made it interactive, so they're not just listening to me talk for 30 minutes. The posters actually, and Heather, I'm not sure if they've hung them at your branch yet, but they should be hung at my branch, I think this week or next week. So we're putting them in our workrooms or wherever we feel at each branch is going to be the most visible to staff, but not visible to patrons, just for that daily exposure. We are also making it a requirement for our branch librarians to include customer service related training at their annual meetings. Here in our system, we have an annual meeting every August at our branch, and the supervisors at the branches are required to plan the training for their staff based on what they need at a branch level. So we are going to have a requirement that they incorporate at least some customer service based training into their meetings. This year, it's going to be a quick 5-minute refresher video on the importance of greeting patrons when they walk in the door and making sure they don't need help, or if they do need help, how best to assist them. And then the supervisors will lead a discussion with their staff about it. The way that it's incorporated can be tailored to the branches. It could be role-playing scenarios, discussions about recent customer service successes and shortfalls, anything like that. As I mentioned earlier, another way we're implementing it is supervisor assigned continuing education. So as needed, branch managers will be encouraged to assign customer service based training to their staff as part of their yearly continuing education requirements. And then we have just implemented the Customer Service Excellence Awards. We sent out the nomination forms last month, and we will start reviewing them. Our deadline is November 1st to start reviewing them. And we think that the formal employee recognition will have a lot of benefits, but it'll definitely, we think, increase our staff's engagement and buy-in to this training. I've already had one employee tell me that she's really going to step up her customer service because she wants to be nominated. And we also think that it's going to positively reinforce our commitment to excellent customer service. Finally, before I turn it over to Heather, we are kind of in the monitoring and evaluation phase also. As with any effective training program, we're going to follow this cycle here to ensure that we're constantly monitoring our progress, evaluating our successes and our shortfalls, and revising our training processes as the need arises. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Heather to give you guys some examples of what our customer service program looks like. We have some visuals.
Hello, everyone. This is the beautiful training guide that Amy put together. I love how her brain works, beautifully organized, easy to understand. We have some fun, juicy updates I just got the other day too that I'll tell you about when we get to that part. Customer service management. Is this the one for supervisors? Yes. And so it's got all of the role playing and everything in it. You can see the specific examples.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go back.
Okay. I was just going to point out the specific scenarios if you guys can see them on your screen. And then the posters, we don't have our poster yet, but I have been asked where I want them. So that's a step in the right direction. So hopefully soon they will be on. I know our main location has them up already.
And they did get cut off a little bit, but this one here says we help our patrons solve their questions. And this one says we learn in difficult situations.
And that came about because our director was telling us a story that he still remembers the one he was taught at one of his first jobs, however long ago. He won't tell us how long ago.
Yeah, I tried to guess, and apparently I guessed too far back, and he was a little offended.
And this is the spreadsheet of all the continuing education. So this is any kind of like online webinars or classes that staff could take to help brush up their skills or learn a new trick that we haven't taught them yet. And this is the Customer Service Excellence Awards. This is the criteria of the nomination. I have got the update to, there have been 2 nominations for the same person so far. So
That's exciting. I think at my branch too, I have 2 nominations for the same person.
I wonder if it's the same.
I don't know. We'll have to talk after.
Okay, so this is where the fun update is. So we hadn't gotten our suggestion boxes or anything, and these were the ones we were sent by the director to kind of tell him like which one we liked. And you can see the price range.
I went too far. I'm sorry.
That's okay. My favorite was, of course, the really expensive one, but in the end, it ended up being these 2. I asked why, and price was definitely a factor. So these were the ones that I initially sent them, the little $20 one you can see, because it was the cheapest and is kind of just like a standard suggestion box. I was excited about the idea of a $500 suggestion box, but I totally understand $20 suggestion box is much better. He also looked at the size and the Amazon reviews before he decided. And then the comment card is something that they just customized a little so that we did not have to pay somebody to send us suggestion cards, they said.
So, yes, we have some helpful tips, and Heather and I will kind of do this one together. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't just like talking at you guys for 30 minutes. We wanted to give you some practical tips for when you're creating your own program. The first thing is accountability is key. When developing your program, build in accountability tools to make sure that your deadlines are being met. I know for me, like when I was working on the manual, and even just like 2 weeks ago, we've been doing this for maybe a year and a half now. I had a meeting with my director about, where we stood, where we still needed to work. And Heather, I'm sure you did the same with the suggestion boxes.
Yep.
And then also talk with your frontline staff. They're the ones being tasked with providing the most direct customer service to our patrons. So talk with them about where they feel like they need more guidance or support. I know I tell my staff all the time that you guys are the library for everybody that comes in. So you really want to make sure that they have the tools they need to succeed. Consistency is the goal, not exactness. Every interaction is going to be different because no 2 patrons are alike. And we don't want to be robots and, every time the door opens, hello, welcome to the library. And then the next person comes in and we do the same thing. So you want to frame your program around guidelines and not exact rules. So that's going to make sure that your service is consistent, but it's not identical. Also, like Heather mentioned, the catchier the better. Our director required us to use acronyms because he remembers them from his job many unspecified years ago. But the more memorable your training is, the easier it will be to utilize for your staff. And really, that's the goal. If it's a training program that looks good, but it's not easy to use, then it's really not going to do what you think it's going to do. So with that, does anybody have any questions? I will put our contact info up on the screen, and then I can stop screen sharing so we can take some questions. But yes, feel free to call us or email us. We'll send our slides so that you guys can see them. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing so that we can take our questions.
That was super helpful, and I'm very, very tempted to ask if we can do this for our student workers. All right, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. If you have any questions for our other panelists, you can also put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak. I know David Duggar earlier, this doesn't apply to Amy and Heather, but he put in the chat, for those of you who are doing your online courses, who's helping you to make sure that your documents are up to date with digital accessibility?
I can speak a little bit to that one. Can folks hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. We've got, there are probably two places that we've gone in the past. One of them is the Innovative Learning Center on campus. But I've also got a working relationship with, there is a rep for campus digital accessibility. So I've worked with her to sort of run my creations by her and make sure that it's up to snuff in terms of accessibility. I found that Canvas is pretty good at sort of coding accessibility into its platform. So that's definitely a bonus of using that as a starting point.
And I agree. This is Melita Payne. I agree with Victoria. It is true. We do use Canvas, and Canvas is a good determinant for it. And plus, the Instruct Infolit modules, they are compliant. So just keeping up the university issues training for it, and we definitely do it with our OER work. So that's the ways in which we keep up with it.
Thank you. And David, I hope that answered your question. Yes, it did. From Brandy for Amy and Heather, she wants to know if you've received any pushback to implementing your idea for the award.
The only, and I wouldn't say it was pushback. Our admin was really supportive of it, but they just wanted to make sure that we were giving out the award remains special. We didn't want to give it out like 5 every year or something like that if we, just to fill a number quota. So the only, I guess, change that was made was that they want to make sure that the awards aren't limited or required to give out a certain number so that they remain special. So we just wrote in that the award or awards will be given out every year based on the applications and the quality of the applications. And at a branch level, my staff have been really excited. Like I said, it's encouraged at least one person to try to step up their customer service. Heather, have you seen that at your branch as well?
They're also excited here. And I did want to add that initially I shot for the moon and suggested 8 hours of leave as the reward, but they decided they weren't sure if that was legal, so we didn't get that. But I think we still got some good things and people are excited about it. So I'm glad they're excited.
And I see Brandy's comment about conflict between staff who were not chosen. I see why your supervisor might think that, but I know we haven't seen it. At least here, my staff have been very excited to nominate their peers. So that's been really great. But I would encourage your supervisor to at least give it a shot and see what happens. Don't just assume that conflict would happen because, usually people are excited to celebrate each other.
And conflict is bad customer service with your coworkers.
All right, thank you everybody for attending today, and thank you to all of our presenters. That's all the time we have for today. Just to remind you that we are going to drop the link for our social media channels into the chat. We are also dropping a link to the evaluation form. I apologize for the earlier one. That was from last year. Completely irrelevant. But we would appreciate all of your feedback. Finally, if you'd like to rewatch today's presentations, we'll be posting our recordings to our YouTube channel. Closed captioning will be automated by Zoom. If you see any errors, please don't hesitate to email us at nolailc@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.